Hello everyone, once again to the next session of A Shelter So High. In the previous session, we have seen how Gaurav Jani started his journey from his hometown Mumbai and reached up to Leh in Ladakh, where he saw amazing houses made up of stones coated with lime and mud. And there he met Tashi. Now, in this session, we are going to talk about his journey further to Shangtang. Now, Gaurav Jani and Loner started to climb higher. They had a very tough time to reach the plains of Shangtang, which was at the height of 5,000 meters. It was so high that it was difficult to breathe normally. Now, this is because at the height, the air becomes so thin that there is less amount of oxygen, not even enough oxygen to burn the fuel of the motorcycle. So as he was moving towards Shangtang, Gaurav Jani had to pull his bike for a long distance, and then he even started feeling uh, nausea or have headache and started feeling weak. But all these things are short lived, मीन्स बहुत थोड़े समय के लिए होती हैं. Once you adjust to this atmosphere, you are pretty comfortable. You must be very curious to know more about Changtang. Changtang literally means northern plains, lying in the rain shadow area between the Himalayas and the Karakoram ranges. Now, again, one doubt must have appeared in your mind about what is a rain shadow area. Then, rain shadow area is a dry area, or you can say the dry part of the mountain which do not receive rainfall from the rain-bearing clouds, because the rain-bearing clouds give rainfall to one side of the mountain, and by the time it becomes light and come on the other side, it hardly have any water in it. That is why it does not bring rainfall to this area. So it's called a rain shadow area or a dry area. The Shangtang is a plateau spread over an area of 13,000 kilometers with an average height of 5,000 meters. In the local language, Changtang means a place where very few people live. Definitely, at such a great height, not very many people are interested in living. Just as one of the Ladakhi saying goes like this: the land is so barren and the passes are so high that only our best friends or fiercest enemies would want to visit us. The only people who live over there is a small tribe of 5,000 people called as Changpas. Now we are going to learn about the Changpas, the nomadic life of Ladakh, who live in Changtang. It is an extraordinary community of shepherds, and they have a century-old way of life. Now we need to know who are the Changpas in a proper manner. So, Changpas are a nomadic community living in the Changtang Plateau in Ladakh and Tibet. They raise yak, sheep, and cow and shift their location with season, depending on the availability of grass and water. Now, these people, they depend on the animals for their livelihood, and since they keep a large number of animals, they need to move from one place to another in search of food and water for them. But over here, you need to understand and know that they do not move to very many new places. They have specific areas which they keep on moving from one place to another. More about the Changpas. Most of their campsites are situated well above 10,000 feet and sometimes as high as 15,000 feet. You should understand that at this height, the living conditions are very difficult. And despite the extreme altitude, that is the height, and severe weather, they have lived in these inhospitable places. Inhospitable means that is the difficult places which do not provide them very comfortable environment and situation to live for, and they have lived over here for many centuries, and this they have done purely to feed their animals and let their animals survive because the animals can thrive in such a height only. Changpas and their animals. Changpas are always on the move with their goat and sheep. It is from these goats and sheep that they get all that they need: milk, meat, skin for tents, and wool for coats and sweaters. And it is for the animals only that they live in such difficult conditions. For the Changpas, their animals are a very important part of their life. They are very precious to them. The Changpas, they rear a special kind of goat, and these goats are the treasures of the Changpa. Why? Because it is from these special goats they get world famous Pashmina wool, which helps them to earn money. The goats from which the soft Pashmina is collected are found on very high altitude of 5,000 meters. Now you understand why these people live at such a great height in such inhospitable conditions. The Changpas graze their goat at high altitudes. It is really very essential for us to learn why do the Changpas graze their goat at higher and colder places. So the answer of this question is the Changpas graze their goats at higher and colder places so that the goats have more and softer hair. They stay high up on these mountains in very difficult conditions because that is where these goats can live. This is their life and their livelihood. The world famous Pashmina. As we all know, that Pashmina shawls are very popular amongst the ladies. So let us see how it is produced. The Changpa tribe of the Changtang region are known to be the traditional producers of Pashmina wool. These tribal people rear sheep in chilly and harsh winter climate and lead the nomadic life to produce Pashmina wool. It is believed that a Pashmina shawl is as warm as 6 sweaters. It is very thin yet very warm. The goat from which the soft Pashmina wool is collected are found on a very high altitude of 5,000 meters. Since the winters are very cold and the temperature falls below 0 degree, the goats grow a coat of warm hair which protects them from extreme cold. The goats shed their hair in summers. The hair of the goat are soft and fine, so it cannot be woven on machines. And do you know, the hair are so fine that 6 of these hair of the goat is equal to 1 hair of yours. And this is the reason why it cannot be woven on machines. Weavers of Kashmir make these shawls by hand, and it takes about 250 hours of weaving to make one plain pashmina shawl. You can very well imagine how long it would take to make a shawl with embroidery. Rebo, the shelter of the Changpas. The Changpas live in big cone-shaped tents called rebos. Children, do you know what is used to make the tents? It is made up of yak hair, which is woven to make strips, which is then stitched together to make the tent. Now, why is yak hair used to make the tent? It is because this is very strong and warm, and this protects them from the icy strong winds and the extreme cold. Design of a rebo. To make a rebo, the ground is dug about 2 feet deep. The tent is then put on the higher part of the ground. The rebo is held up by 2 wooden poles in the middle. When Gaurav Jani entered the rebo of Namyal, he found that it was as big as his room of his Mumbai flat, and he could stand straight in the rebo, which he could not do in his own tent. There is an opening to let out the smoke from the chulha. The design of the rebo is more than 1,000 years old. And one thing very interesting about it is that the Changpas take only 2.5 hours to pack everything, and within no time they put up the tent in another place which they have chosen. Near the rebo, there is a place to keep the sheep and goat. Changpas call this place as Lekha. The walls of Lekha are made with stones kept one above the other. This is basically done to create a boundary and force the animals to stay within this boundary. Now, each family puts a special mark on their own animals because all the animals of the entire tribe are kept in one place. So, in order to identify their own animals, the families put their special marks. It is not the men, but the women and the young girls. They count and take the animals out and for grazing and even bring them back to the lekha. After spending some time with the Changpas, Gaurav Jani started with his return journey. And this time he took a special route, or you can say a different route, towards Srinagar via Kargil. When he reached Srinagar, he was again amazed to see the buildings and the different houses over there. He captured a number of them in his camera. And here we have some of the pictures from his photo album. In picture 1, you can see the houseboat. The tourists, when they go to Srinagar, they love to stay in these houseboats. In the second picture, it is a village house of Kashmir. The house is made up of stones cut and kept one on the top of the other and coated with mud. Wood is also used. The houses have sloping roofs so that if snow falls, it can easily slide down. The third picture is of a donga, and many families in Srinagar, they live in donga. These boats can be seen in the Dal Lake and Jhelum River. From inside, the donga is just like a house with different rooms. In the next picture, we see some old houses which have a special type of window which comes out of the wall. This is called as dab. It has beautiful wood pattern. It is wonderful to sit there and enjoy the view. Next is again a window which shows the beautiful carving called as mehrab. They are the arcs which the doors and the windows of different houses have. The last and not the least is that of the shikara, and any tourist who go to Kashmir would love to take a ride of shikara on the Dal Lake. With heavy heart, Gaurav Jani started his return journey to Mumbai. But he was very happy that he had learned and experienced so many new things. Children, we have seen different type of houses or shelters in this chapter of Jammu and Kashmir. Some on the high mountains, some on water, some with beautiful designs in wood and stone. And not to forget the tents, the rebo of the Changpas and the nylon tent of Gaurav Jani, a shelter which could be packed and carried to different places. When you look around in your neighborhood, you see different type of shelters. Whatever the type of houses we have around us or anywhere, what we see, one thing common in all is that they all are constructed to suit the needs of the people as well as the climate. That is, they are constructed according to the climate also. For example, the places which have snowfall or heavy rainfall, the houses have sloping roofs. The places with less rainfall, the houses have flat roofs. The places where you have less land, you have skyscrapers or houses made one above the other. In the village, you have the kacha house. In the cities, you have the pakka house, and so on. So with this, we come to an end of Gaurav Jani's journey as well as ours. Time to quickly recall what we have learnt. What is the height of Changtang? It is 5,000 meters. Name the nomadic tribe that live in Changtang. Answer: the nomadic tribe that live in Changtang are the Changpas. What do the Changpas call their tents? The Changpas call their tents as rebo. Where do the tourists who go to Kashmir like to live? The tourists who visit Kashmir like to live in houseboats.